This is a new day. This is a new day full of sound, definitely some light, and expectation. This day has been waiting for you. This day has been waiting especially for you, to embrace you, to guide you. This day has been waiting with open arms, just for you. This is the day we have been given. Let's not waste it. Come now and let us worship together. Please rise. Embody your spirit for our first hymn in the Teal hymnal, 1053. How could anyone?
Anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? I'm seeing a lot of this. That feels about right. That feels about right. Yeah, it's a little warmer in here than it is out there, but get close to a loved one if you need to warm up. Yeah, just really good to see all of you. I feel like the months are flying by. I don't know if that's just me, but this is kind of a nice centering place for me. Come here every Sunday and be with all of you. And hello to all our friends on Zoom. We have not forgotten about you. Thank you for joining us. We have a number of events happening. You can find them on the back of your order of service. I just want to highlight a couple that are not mentioned here. This coming Wednesday at 7 p.m., some people laughed when I mentioned this as a topic, but I would like to engage in what I call spirits of the past, ghosts. I love ghost stories. I love history. I'm fascinated by ghost stories across different cultures and our own personal experiences of what we might call spirits of the past or ghosts. I think it's real in terms of the stories, and it's worth talking about. So if you'd like to engage, tell a ghost story, hear a ghost story, explore what ghosts are for us in our culture and across the world. I would love to engage with you. That's going to be this coming Wednesday at 7 p.m., right before Halloween. And then Thursday at 7 p.m., we've been invited to join the synagogue next door in the larger Jewish community. They're going to be honoring the 5th anniversary of the Tree of Life shootings. It's been 5 years. I remember some of you were there 5 years ago. I was there 5 years ago. And so we're going to honor that with the Jewish community and come together in solidarity. That's going to be this coming Thursday at 7 p.m. And today, after service, Bob Siebold will be leading a conversation on the Constitution. I think it'll be really in-depth and fascinating. So you can join Bob Siebold after coffee hour. And now I'd love to invite Michael Conder for our chalice lighting.
Good morning. I'm Michael Condor, and though I have been up here many times, I'm still rather new to the Unitarian Universalist tradition of faith. When Reverend Boyd asked me to do today's chalice lighting, he asked me to share how the faith helps me to live with peace and understanding. And while contemplating how to answer this question, I was reminded of our covenant, which periodically pops into my head throughout the week. Unlike other churches, where they have a creed, which is a set of beliefs you must believe in order to be included, here at UUYO, we have a covenant, which is an agreement with each other. This is the building block of community. So this morning, I would like to share with you what the covenant means to me, and like the true communication English nerd I am, I'm going to break it down line by line. And if you'd like to follow along, it is in your order of service as well. Love is the spirit of this church, the most powerful opening line. When you act out in the world as an agent of love, in whatever way that is, you show the spirit of your church. You share a bit of yourself and of your community. Love is the greatest power in the world, and there is an abundance of it here. And service its law. That's a scarier line to some. But what this means to me is that service to mankind is the rule to which we abide. By helping or assisting someone with something or giving someone advice, you raise the energy of not only the people you helped, but yourself as well. To dwell together in peace. This line promises a safe space. Constructive communication is not done in times of war and great strife, when tempers are heated and everyone has their own agenda. Nothing is ever truly accomplished to benefit anyone. Only through peaceful communication and cooperation is anything meaningful ever accomplished. We do this by keeping a peaceful mind and a peaceful heart. To seek the truth in love. This line is the spirit in which we communicate. None of us have all the answers, but each of us may have part of the answers. We must be open to the thoughts and experiences of others and to the revelations they could provoke. By sharing together in community, through our relationships with each other, we can all raise our combined understanding of all things through the spirit of love. You don't educate yourself by only ever reading one book. You educate yourself by reading many books by many authors. And to help one another. The final line sounds a little bit like a repeat of service to mankind, but I believe this line's distinctiveness comes from its call to help our fellow church members. We nourish each other and we grow together. So we light this chalice today in the spirit of love, the fertile soil in which we grow together in peace.
To remind everyone, in case you didn't know it, actually, that Jedi are guardians of peace in the galaxy. We do not seek to fight, we seek to keep the peace. So I'm not teaching your children to fight. I'm teaching them some yoga. So this morning's story is called The Ugly Duckling. Now, The Ugly Duckling was written originally by Hans Christian Andersen. But this one is retold by Sarah Delmage and illustrated by Polona Lovson. It was a warm, sunny day, and Mommy Duck wriggled excitedly on her nest. She could hear a tapping noise. Tap, tap, tap. Quick, quack, quick! Mommy Duck called the other ducks. My eggs are hatching. Come and see. One by one, the eggs hatched, and out popped 6 chirpy little ducklings. Cheep, 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 cheep. Ah, the other duck sighed. What sweet little ducklings. Mommy Duck beamed with pride. But the biggest egg of all still hadn't opened. Mommy Duck was sure she had only laid 6 eggs. Crack! Just then, the final egg burst open. Oh, gasped Mommy Duck. The last little duckling wasn't little, yellow, or cute. He was enormous, gray, and, well, ugly. What an ugly duckling, quacked an old duck. He's not ugly, Mommy Duck protectively said. He's special. The next day, Mommy Duck took all her little ducks to the farmyard to meet the other animals. The 6 yellow ducklings proudly puffed out their pretty feathers. Ah, sighed the animals, what lovely ducklings. The ugly duckling waddled forward. Hello, he said quietly. Everyone turned to stare at him. He's so gray, neighed the horse. He's so clumsy, mooed the cow. He's so big, squawked the hen. Large teardrops rolled down the ugly duckling's long black beak. He felt all alone. Nobody wants me, he whispered. I'd be better off swimming away. The poor little duckling waddled sadly across the meadow, leaving the farm and his family far behind him. Soon the ugly duckling came to a river where some geese were diving for food. Excuse me, the ugly duckling began bravely. Have you seen any ducklings like me? No, you're the strangest looking duckling we've ever seen, the geese honked. So the ugly duckling kept waddling. He was getting very tired. As darkness fell, he crept inside an old barn, looking for a place to rest. May I stay here? He asked the animals inside. Can you lay eggs? Clucked a hen. No, said the ugly duckling sadly. Can you catch mice? Purred a cat. I don't think so, said the ugly duckling. Then you're no use here, the cat hissed. The ugly duckling quickly waddled away. He kept going until he came to a large lake. If nobody wants me, then I'll just hide here forever, he sniffed sadly. Ribbit, croaked a frog. What a funny-looking duckling. Fall came and the leaves turned gold. One evening, just as the sun was setting, the ugly duckling saw a flock of beautiful white birds flying gracefully across the sky. I wish I looked like them, he sighed. All through the long winter, the ugly duckling hid in the reeds, ashamed to show his face. When the first rays of warm spring sunshine arrived, the ugly duckling peered out of his hiding place. A graceful swan paddled by him, and he backed away, afraid he would be teased. But, to the ugly duckling's surprise, the swan swam up to him. Why are you hiding here? Asked the swan. Join us. Join the rest of us. The ugly duckling was shocked. Surely the swan must be talking to someone else. But then he caught sight of his reflection in the lake. He stared and gasped in amazement. His gray feathers were now snowy white. I'm a swan, the ugly duckling cried happily. Just then, a family of 6 young ducks waddled along the riverbank with their mother. Look at that beautiful swan, they quacked. Mommy Duck recognized her little ugly duckling at once. I always knew he was special, she quacked. The ugly duckling ruffled his beautiful white feathers, turned away, and proudly paddled after his new friend. The end. So what was the ugly duckling's heritage? What was it? Beauty? Yes, he inherited beauty, but he didn't know it. Okay, it's time for our Jedi class. Come on, little Padawans. Come on.
Please join me in reciting our covenant, which begins with, love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Our church is supported by pledge income from members and friends like you. If you wish to make an offering to us, please designate so on your check or envelope that it is for UUYO. Our giveaway the plate recipient for the fourth Sunday of the month is the Minister's Discretionary Fund. This fund is used to support members and friends in times of emergency and to benefit the wider community. We will now receive the offering that supports the life of Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley, and our wider world.
This poem is called In Jerusalem by Mahmoud Darwish. In Jerusalem, and I mean within the ancient walls, I walk from one epoch to another without a memory to guide me. The prophets over there are sharing the history of the holy, ascending to heaven and returning less discouraged and melancholy because love and peace are holy and are coming to town. I was walking down a slope and thinking to myself, how do the narrators disagree over what light said about a stone? Is it from a dimly lit stone that wars flare up? I walk in my sleep. I stare in my sleep. I see no one behind me. I see no one ahead of me. All this light is for me. I walk. I become lighter. I fly. Then I become another, transfigured. Words sprout like grass from Isaiah's messenger mouth. If you don't believe, you won't be safe. I walk as if I were another, and my wound a white biblical rose, and my hands like two doves on the cross, hovering and carrying the earth. I don't walk, I fly. I become another, transfigured. No place and no time. So who am I? I am no I in Ascension's presence. But I think to myself, alone, the Prophet Muhammad spoke classical Arabic. And then what? Then what? A woman soldier shouted, "Is that you again? Didn't I kill you?" I said, "You killed me, and I forgot, like you, to die." During our meditation today, let's hold Beth Foster. I just received a note from Louisa. Beth Foster is recovering from an infection after her hip replacement. So let's hold Beth Foster and all people who are suffering in mind, body, and spirit. This next poem is from Yehuda Amichai. It's called "An Arab Shepherd is Searching for His Goat on Mount Zion." An Arab shepherd is searching for his goat on Mount Zion, and on the opposite hill I am searching for my little boy. An Arab shepherd and a Jewish father, both in their temporary failure. Our two voices met above, the Sultan's pool in the valley between us. Neither of us wants the boy or the goat to get caught in the wheels of the Hadgadya machine. Afterward, we found them among the bushes, and our voices came back inside us, laughing and crying. Searching for a goat or for a child has always been the beginning of a new religion in these mountains.
Our responsive reading this morning can be found in our gray hymnal, number 657. I am going to read the regular text, and the congregation, you will respond with the italicized text. And we'll do that once together, and then afterwards I will read it top to bottom just by myself. Okay? Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Our beliefs are expansive and lead the way into wider and deeper sympathies. Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding children's days with fears of unknown calamities. Other beliefs are like sunshine, blessing children with the warmth of happiness. Some beliefs are divisive, separating the saved from the unsaved, friends from enemies. Other beliefs are bonds in a world community where sincere differences beautify the pattern. Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction. Other beliefs are like gateways, opening wide vistas for exploration. Some beliefs weaken a person's selfhood. They blight the growth of resourcefulness. Other beliefs nurture self-confidence and enrich the feeling of personal worth. Some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world. Other beliefs are pliable, like the young sapling ever growing the upward thrust of life. It matters what we believe. Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Other beliefs are expansive and lead the way into wider and deeper sympathies. Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding children's days with fears of unknown calamities. Other beliefs are like sunshine, blessing children with the warmth of happiness. Some beliefs are divisive, separating the saved from the unsaved, friends from enemies. Other beliefs are bonds in a world community with sincere differences beautify the pattern. Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction. Other beliefs are like gateways, opening wide vistas for exploration. Some beliefs weaken a person's selfhood. They blight the growth of resourcefulness. Other beliefs nurture self-confidence and enrich the feeling of personal worth. Some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world. Other beliefs are pliable, like the young sapling ever growing with the upward thrust of life.
The poet Mahmoud Darwish was considered for many years to be the poet of the Palestinian resistance movement. He fell in love with an Israeli woman, and in an account he told her, "We will meet each other after the war ends." She asked, "When will the war end?" He said, "When we meet." Like many of you, I've been horrified and saddened by the loss of life in Gaza, in Israel. This is on top of the war in Ukraine and this month thinking of Indigenous Peoples Day and our own country's history of occupation. I know many are hoping and yearning for peace, for ceasefire, for humanitarian aid, for food, water, safety for all people. I join in that hope, that yearning. And the question originally posed for this morning, where is our heritage leading us, has been for me a very important and grounded question this last 2 weeks. It's not an abstract question now, probably not ever. In the midst of warfare, ceaseless violence, division, and distrust, where is our heritage leading us? I think the only way I can approach that question is coming at it sideways. Poetry is coming at things sideways. It's where I discover meaning might be possible. Michael Servetus, a religious martyr for religious freedom, someone that we claim as ours, said before he was burned at the stake, "I will burn, but this is mere incident. We shall continue this conversation in eternity." The conversation he was referring to was about doctrine, in this case a question about the Trinity and his refusal to believe in it. But speaking from this time and place, I think the conversation has grown much more interesting than that, much wider in scope, much more pertinent to the time we're living in. It's now the question of an Arab looking for a goat and a Jewish father looking for his son. And they find both in the bushes. And in meeting each other in that place, a new religion is born. What is this new religion? Before we get there, it can be helpful to look at some old religion, which is not really old. I heard Jerusalem is one of the most democratic cities in the world. Even the dead get a vote. The foundation stone is very important for both Muslims and Jews. For Muslims, it is the spot of Muhammad's ascension into heaven. And Mahmoud Darwish, as the poet, experiences that ascension. No I, no identity, no I in ascension. He becomes another, transfigured. For Jews, that same place is considered the spot where the creation of the world began. It's the spot of the Holy of Holies, where God showed God's self. It's the spot where Jacob saw a giant ladder leading straight into heaven with angels going up and down. It's a gateway to another dimension of existence, all rooted in one place, in the heart of Jerusalem. Pretty amazing, I think. The poet Yehuda Amichai, famous Israeli poet, has a funny story where he's in Jerusalem and a tour bus goes by and the tour guide points directly to the right of him where some holy landmark is and shares with all the people on the tour bus how old and phenomenal that landmark is. He wrote a poem about that experience where he said, one day they will point and say, you see that very old, important site? That doesn't really matter. To the right of you, you will see a man. See how he is buying fruit and vegetables for his children. Perhaps that change in perspective is the beginning of a new religion. My hope for our heritage is this, that we can hold both. Peace, I hope, is at the heart of it. But peace how? The ability to hold multiple things at once. To see the person buying fruit and vegetables for his family and to hold that there is also a transcendent mystery to each of our lives, a dimension we get glimpses of sometimes, glimpses of our deep, intractable bond to one another. I hope we don't lose that, and I worry about that. I try not to worry about it too much, but I do. The only way I can ease that worry is when I focus on how I might be able to live that vision. What might it look like to truly meet another, to witness the most obvious, a person buying fruit and vegetables, a person in need of fruit, water, a person who has lost a goat, a person who has lost his beloved family member, being a witness to the most obvious and recognizing there is still more there, a great mystery that has as much to do with us as them. Realizing there's just us. I hope we don't lose that. Don't forget that. My hope is that our heritage of freedom, both in thought and in religion, can eventually free us from the idea that we are separate, even alone. I hope we can free ourselves enough to truly meet. It's something I've learned a lot about by being with you. I'm naturally very accomplishment-oriented. I like to get things done, which can make parish ministry a really interesting fit. Because it doesn't take long to learn. Everyone has their own trajectory, their own ideas, their own struggles. I have a much greater respect than I did for the great mystery of a human being, of a person. But it's a funny thing. I find the more I make room for that mystery, the closer I feel with people. Even if I don't know the full extent of the struggle, even if I disagree with or just have different ideas than this person, I feel more of a kinship, a closeness, when I allow for the possibility of mystery. I never knew in admitting I know less about a person, I can feel more for them. No one ever taught me that. You taught me that. I remember someone once telling me, you know, everyone is doing their best. And I thought that was hogwash. In my mind, I had an unspoken standard. And if you didn't live up to that standard, I had all sorts of judgments. And I still have all of them. But I learned, thanks to all of you, there's nothing wrong with standards, having judgment. Some call it discernment. It's a great gift, actually. But when our ideas and judgments greet the world before we do, we never get to meet the world. I found when I convinced myself of an idea of a situation, of a person, it shut down possibilities rather than open them. My hope for our heritage is that we remain open to possibilities, that we practice learning how to meet ourselves more fully, how to meet another. Now at this point, it's not that I have to practice that. I want to practice that. Life is much more enjoyable with intending to be more open to meeting it. And it's a strange alchemical thing that I don't pretend to understand, but I've found in those times when I can meet what is happening with a little more openness, what I thought I was meeting gets transformed. It's like an Arab shepherd and a Jewish father who begin the day in search with no awareness of each other. And in meeting each other, surprisingly, in their shared loss, something more than loss shows up. It's the seed of a new religion, a common understanding of each other's suffering, which is also our own, different and individual, but connected. I hope we don't lose a sense of that. As I was thinking about this topic, I became aware I was more concerned about what we might lose rather than what we might gain. But that's because my idea of religion has taken a radical shift since coming here and learning from you. I'm convinced what we seek, or at least I'll speak for myself, what I seek is already fundamentally here. That person buying fruits and vegetables for their family is here. The Holy of Holies is here. In beautiful Ohio, who would have thought? I had someone in Oregon on Zoom ask me, "Why do you say Youngstown is so great?" And the answer came out of my mouth before I had a chance to think. Because I now see more clearly than ever that we have all that we need here to love one another. We have all we need to love one another. I never saw that. Not really, until coming here. Put another way, we have everything we need to fully meet each other. We don't need anything else. We're already here. I think it matters what we believe. And by that, I don't mean doctrine. A creed is too small compared to what we're actually talking about this morning. What we're really talking about here is how to end the war. What we're talking about is how we come down from the hill and meet the other. What we're talking about is cultivating peace by recognizing we all have the need here. And we have all we need to love each other. We're talking about a new religion that is both old, older than recorded time, but also not quite manifested yet. I've been thinking of doing some of that meeting locally, meeting people who live right here in our community who are afraid and suffering immensely. A day after the attacks in Israel, we were invited to an open house at the Islamic Society. Many of you were there. We have people in this community who are first-generation Palestinians and people from all over the Middle East with family right now in Gaza. We are right next door to the oldest synagogue built in Youngstown. Next Thursday, as I said, at 7 o'clock, we will honor the 5th anniversary of a shooting that happened less than 2 hours from here at a synagogue in Pittsburgh, Tree of Life. My intention during this time is to do what I can and what we as a church can to support people who are afraid and suffering, people who have suffered for generations. And, for me this is key, not to cause further harm. The intention of meeting: openness, peace, and more than openness, kinship, friendship. It's a lost art in our culture to be able to hold different views and yet still fundamentally care about each other, to care together about how we can reduce violence and help one another. But churches are one of the last places where that lost art is still named as something worthwhile. That's another thing I hope we don't lose. Our heritage, which includes all of our life experience, has given us a real treasure. I consider this faith tradition part of my heritage, even though I was not born into it. The reason why is because this tradition didn't give me something I didn't already have. It showed me what I truly had inside me, just being human, but I'd ignored or never fully appreciated. It has shown me that there are attitudes and practices that have the capacity to open up life and make it technicolor, alive, tangible. It's taught me to notice the person buying fruit and not just the impressive monument. But it's also taught me to respect the great mystery, the transcendent mystery of another, a mystery that envelops my life too. It's taught me how to do both and how much I need both. It's taught me how to pay attention to poets for gospels I had forgotten or never quite heard like that, to let my walls soften a bit and be open to new truths, new understandings, to be a perpetual beginner and see that as good spiritual practice, to have a view and hold it, but not let it separate me from another. That is a lost art, but it's possible. I've learned that from you. I've learned that here, in this place. My hope for our heritage is that we will see our principles, our covenant, our martyrs, our history, which is great and long and varied, as pointers toward an attitude and view which is endlessly creative and can be learned. The attitude and view that it is important to pay attention to life, to honor it and respect it, to honor everyday common experience, and to also respect there is a profound mystery there. To be pliable and to see that as a strength, to be open to wider and deeper sympathies, to let more light in, not less, more life in, not less, more people in, not less. My hope is that when we retire at night, at the end of a long day, we will feel in our bones, in our very marrow, in our heart of hearts, the wonder of how we can sit solitary in a room by ourselves and know in the deepest parts of us we are part of a world community that is alive right now, that goes back to when the first stone was laid and the Holy of Holies was present. Please pray with me. Spirit of love, so grateful for a breath of fresh air. So grateful for every single person in this community. Please bless those who are suffering this morning. Please bless those that are in grief. Please bless those who know the acute pain of loss. Please bless all of us as we open our hearts and our minds a little bit more. Please help us to see the person next to us, to recognize the person next to us, to feel their presence, and to appreciate them. All this we pray. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, which is also in the teal hymnal. There is a river flowing in my soul. 1007.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts until we meet again.
As you depart, please remember the one great fact. I saw one person just do it kind of like, okay. You are loved and never truly alone.